Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon for all their support, because without their help, the upgraded content that you see on the channel, that you really see in the video essays and a few of the lore discussions would not be possible without their help. But over on the Patreon, you get sneak peeks of videos months in advance. Patrons also get priority on the Q&As. Every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and I give away a lot of good goodies in that. And it's also just really cool to talk to you guys in the DMs, and if some of you guys have theories that you want me to talk about on the channel, obviously I will talk about your theories. Just send them to me over on the Patreon. But with that being said, let's get into the review. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, the anime. And now that episode 249 is done in the books, man, do we got a lot to talk about, because just like last week, this week's episode made some references to some of those light novels that, a lot of you guys don't like me saying, like, hey, this was referencing a novel, this was referencing a novel. Well, this episode here came with another novel payoff, and so I like how we had that, and then we also had Boruto understanding and seeing firsthand just what it means to be at war and to have that cycle of hatred, and to have Boruto more than once being confronted by somebody whose life he's altered, and having that payoff at the end where Boruto realizes that because of what he did to Siren, Ikada now hates him because Ikada was Siren's brother and Ikada was a member of the Funato clan. I like those little small moments right there that have been paid off in this episode to really just start showcasing how Boruto, due to no fault of his own, because of how he was raised in Konoha, Boruto is now struggling with being at war and what that truly means. And this goes into 2 points right here. This goes into Naruto's own thought process in the Shikamaru Shinden novel, which I covered here on the channel. One of the things that Naruto worried about is that if a war were to break out, Boruto and his generation, but Boruto in particular, would not be able to handle what it truly means to be at war. And Naruto himself was at a point where he thought about Neji dying, and he wanted to prevent having another Neji Hyuga moment because he didn't think Boruto's generation could take a loss like that. Naruto understands this because Naruto's gone through these types of situations firsthand, but he worried about his own son's mental state of mind, and we see that in this episode. Boruto is struggling with making enemies and understanding that when you kill somebody, you are now a target. And the other thing that we see is that we get a moment where Iwabe and Denki are talking to Boruto, and they're telling him, like, the only reason we're still alive is because Funamushi heard that we were gathering food for children, and that's why he didn't use us as bargaining chips. That's why he didn't kill us. And what I like about that is that that also goes back to some of the information that we get from some of the light novels, because the way that things are in the Land of Water is not how they are in the Land of Fire. The Land of Water has a history of fighting. There has been upheaval. There are people that do not agree with Chojiro's Mizukage. There have been people like the Funato clan who have been on the outskirts of the Land of Water, causing rebellions, moving against things. There is a class system in the Land of Water. Villages like Kagura's village are not first priority to the feudal lord or the Mizukage. You have a lot of poor sections. Those are things that were mentioned in passing and built up in some of the light novels. So when the anime shows Funamushi being sympathetic, I understood what they were doing there, because the class issues in the Land of Water were already kind of mentioned there. And I like how the episode opens up with Sarada trying to heal one of the Funato clan members that they see, and her whole reasoning was like, well, I want revenge as much as you do, but we can't kill somebody who can't fight back. And you have Bunten and you have Kyoho, both of them want to just slaughter this dude. You have the people in the village, they're totally against even helping him. You have Bunten saying there's no way that we can wait for Iwabe and Denki. We have to take this as it is. This is war. They're probably dead. Metal League can't really accept it. Boruto's struggling to accept what Bunten is saying, and that goes to further highlight and showcase the difference between the Land of Water and the Land of Fire. Bunten and Kyoho grew up in a country where there are still smaller skirmishes that are going on. The Land of Fire, for the most part, they have some issues economically with the rich and the poor. You saw that with the whole Byakuya gang arc, and you saw some of the darker sides in the Land of Fire, but for the most part, Naruto has that country pretty much conflict free outside of a few smaller things on the scales of bandits. In the Land of Water, there are a bunch of smaller conflicts that are taking place. The Funato clan isn't the only group out there in opposition of the Mizukage, and I like how this episode's showing there's a bit of a culture shock for Boruto. He's struggling to understand the cycle of hatred. He's struggling with some of the pushback that some of these Mist Ninja are giving him. We look at how Bunten is speaking at the graves, and she's telling Kagura like, hey, we've been pardoned now because of everything that you've done. They've gotten that pardon from Chojuro, but at the same time, old girl's like, I'm about to go roll some heads for all this stuff. You got Sarada over there trying to heal the Funato clan member, and she's like, man, screw that. We're gonna kill him and get revenge. Later on in the episode, she's down to torture the dude for intel. They just built different. And what I also like right here is that for a moment, Boruto's on the same page, but the entire time Boruto's conflicted, and you see the conflict growing even when he's by himself and he's looking on that scouting mission. He's trying to find a reason to hate the Funato. When he gets presented with the information that he killed Funamushi and that he's fighting Funamushi's son, Boruto begins to spiral, and it's because he's not built like that. And one of the beautiful things about Boruto's struggle in this episode is that when he's fighting annoyed, he's taking out his frustration. He's doing the Gale Palm Jutsu, knocking the dude, slapping him against the tree. But once he actually starts humanizing his enemy, realizing that they got their own hopes and dreams and ambitions and etc., one of the things that he starts doing is realizing that they're not that bad. And now he's struggling because it's easier to hate somebody when they're just a nameless face, they're an enemy. It's harder to do that when you can empathize with them with certain situations, when you can sympathize with them on other situations. And that's what Boruto's struggling with now. It's a great character struggle for him, and it's a good moment for him to start realizing that the shinobi world is more complicated than he realized. Not every village is like Konoha, and he's seeing that firsthand. Due to no fault of his own, he grew up a very sheltered life. Even after becoming a shinobi, he's still been a sheltered individual. He's experienced some things, and he's experienced some aspects of the darker side of the ninja world. You have the stuff like with the Karma Seal and him being a vessel for Momoshiki. I'm not saying he hasn't been through anything, that's not the case, but you can see how his upbringing is being contrasted to what's going on in the Land of Water, and he's struggling. And I thought it was very effective writing to have Boruto, the son of a Hokage, essentially come face to face with the child of Funamushi and have that be part of what makes him struggle, and then transition later on to him learning that Siren's younger brother was Ikada. It's an effective use of internal conflict, and having that internal conflict mirror the external problems in front of him, because it's taking Boruto out of his comfort zone. During that time right there, Boruto was already struggling with his emotions. And what I like right here is that Boruto, upon seeing as a child and hearing from the child that you killed my father, Boruto's like, I didn't kill anybody's father, because he's only seen Funamushi as the enemy. He's not seen Funamushi as somebody who had a family of his own. And once he realizes this, Boruto continues to struggle, because when Iwabe and Denki are telling him that the only reason they're still alive is because Funamushi showed them some level of respect because they were trying to gather food for children, it messed with Boruto, because Boruto only saw him as evil. He didn't see him as a person. Boruto's begun that process of humanizing his enemy, and all throughout the episode after that, you see him struggling to the point where he's saying it's not right to continue fighting. Kawaki calls him out on it, saying, you have this naive view of things. If you feel this way, you really shouldn't be participating in battle. Boruto is conflicted because deep down in his heart, he's angry and he has his target with the Funato clan, but now he's realizing these people, they're husbands, they're somebody's child, they're somebody's father, They have dreams of their own. Every battle I fight, every life I end, it doesn't just affect that person, it affects somebody else. The concern that Naruto had that Boruto's generation can't handle war. The concern that Kurotsuki had in the anime that this new generation was too soft. We're seeing it firsthand with Boruto. For as skilled as he is, this aspect of being a shinobi is something he hasn't struggled with before. It isn't something he's considered before. Everything was black and white. Now he's seeing the gray area and it's slapping him in the face and he's having a hard time with it. Boruto's even at the point where he wants to try and talk Chojuro out of continuing this war and try and seek a peaceful resolution. It's because Boruto right now is struggling to comprehend everything that's going on. He knows that there's a cycle and that there's a wheel that has to be stopped from spinning, but Boruto has no answer, much like his father had no answer for a long time on how to stop the wheel from spinning. And it goes back to Boruto being sheltered and naive, because the Funato aren't the only ones that are viewing Boruto through the scope of retribution. Because of what happened with Ishiki, Code views Boruto much in the same way. And so you're seeing setup for the situation with Code, and you're also seeing setup for the split that's coming with Kawaki, and you're seeing setup for Boruto chapter 58, where Kawaki and Team 7 have their moment, where there's a moment of disagreement on how Sarada is handling things, and Kawaki is starting to regress more so into the viewpoint of the way that Kara did things. You're seeing seeds being planted all throughout this arc for what's inevitably coming later down the line. The more battles that Boruto fights, the more enemies he's going to make. It's a cycle that doesn't stop. It's a harsh reality about the shinobi world that Boruto's being forced to confront. And that Funato clan member that was being interrogated says, "You've been the enemy and the target of the Funato for longer than you think. It started well before you guys killed Funamushi." And for somebody like Boruto, who's as kind-hearted as he is, he's struggling right now. And I like that. And the only thing with this is that we're clearly building up towards that moment where Boruto does try to go to Chojuro, and he's going to try and get Chojuro to stop the fighting. And you run a risk of having Boruto learn a very harsh lesson the same way that Naruto did, which is that there gets to some points where fighting is the only option for it, because Chojuro has a lot of messes that are going on in the Land of Water, and Arayumi is not going to likely go down without a fight. Boruto wants to be the Shadow Hokage. He's seeing, and Sarada by extension, they're seeing that there are certain things that Kage, they have to do. Sometimes you can't talk your way out of a situation. If you can, you try it, but some threats are going to force you to face the darkness of the shinobi world. And much like in our own world, there comes a time where having too much heart can get you killed. And it goes back to, again, in the Hidden Mist Village, and most importantly in the Land of Water, things are not like they are in Konoha and like how they are in the Land of Fire. There's a lot more fires that are burning in the Land of Water. If Chojuro's able to come up with a peaceful solution to this issue with the Funato clan, I'm going to be very surprised. And it's going to speak volumes about his leadership skills, because there comes a time where you can't negotiate any further. So I kind of like what you're seeing right here. I think this was an okay episode. My episode question to you guys is, how do you guys feel about Boruto seeing the other side of war? Do you think this was needed for his character? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.